dialed your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week, folks. Now, as usual, I give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it, folks. Sounds like a good deal. So let's get to it. Story number 1. Leadership change at Youngstown Air Reserve Station. The 910th Airlift Wing at the Youngstown Air Reserve Station is under new leadership. Colonel Michael Mahoning, who recently served as chief of the programs division at the Air Force Reserve Command at Robins Air Force Base in Georgia. Mahoning, he is now in charge. Now, Mahoning has a long list of accolades and will replace Colonel Jeff Van Doughty. Story number 2. Fires in Camel spark concerns. Another fire in Camel has hit headlines, folks. It's important to note that some of the areas in Camel that have been ablaze look like third world countries, if you haven't been out there. But Camel is a nice little place on the hill, but it does have some dilapidated properties. Now, the drag that it's putting on firefighters is what got this story in. The mayor of Camel, Brian Tedesco, has gone on the record voicing his concerns. Now, why someone is randomly setting fires to those worn down properties remains a mystery, sparking rumors. Story number 3. And the Ohio Arts Economic Relief Grant Program goes to... Here we go, folks. 2020. Wow, that's a lot of money. $20,441,085 in grants to 104 arts-based organizations in 33 counties in the second round is the amount in one report published by the Mediator on July 8th. So far, $43 million has already been awarded to 243 organizations through the program. This is all a part of the American Rescue Plan Act. So all these programs have been funded through the American Rescue Plans Act. Now, $500,000 is being rationed out so far to 4 Mahoning Valley organizations, with the Butler Institute of American Art in Youngstown getting the bulk of the funding at $319,031. Story number 4. YSU is set for more upgrade projects. $326,770 is the amount set for 2 separate projects at Youngstown State University. Some of the money will be used for security equipment and the other will be used for safety upgrades. Story number 5. New housing project in Struthers sparks some good news. It took 29 years for this call to be answered in Struthers. That means that it took 29 years for somebody to build some new properties. Mary Lou Derrick Estates is the name of the new properties set to be built on Center Street and 3 on Ridgeway Street. The price range for the homes will be about $200,000. Struthers Credit Union will be providing financing for the project. That's why story number 5 made it this week. Story number 6. It's almost time to vote again. So what have we done right? What have we done wrong? It's in less than about 4 months, folks. Another election will be among us. And at the moment, meeting budget goals seems to be the main concern for surrounding districts. Now, financial assessments and living conditions after the COVID-19 pandemic will most likely be the main topic of concern in this next election. Analysts will also be homing in on what we've done right and what we've done wrong. Story number 7 and the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week is Youngstown's financial future secure? Money. COVID-19 was a mess. COVID period was a mess for Youngstown. But the aid money may have given the city a lifeline. This is according to the city's financial director. Oh, God, this is what I've read in the past. Now, according to a report published July 11th, Youngstown saved $20,288 with a state treasurer's program. Now, one Vindicator report says that this is the 9th time the city has used the Ohio Market Access Program. So overall, the city has saved about $368,220. Now, City Finance Director Kel Miasek complimented the program because it has helped the city save money, which everybody loves doing. Now, the next question once the COVID relief money is spent, will there be enough for the city, and how secure is the city's financial future? That's why story number 7 almost made to the top this week. Big story number 8, and the top local headline and developing news story that made it this week. A college dispute close to home could spark a brewing debate. Now, this is why I say, if you have a voice, they say closed mouths don't get fed, but this is a big story. Now, with the country in an educational mess, Eastern Gateway College is now in a dispute after a controversial free college benefits program. Now, this is according to a local Vindicator article published July 11th. The article claims that the free program turned the college into a powerhouse. Now, low-income students thrive with Pell Grants and needs-based federal aid programs meant to help low-income students. So this helped them thrive in this program at Eastern Gateway College. Now the Department of Education is saying that the college violated financial aid rules by subsidizing the FCB program with Pell Grant money. Now, Eastern Gateway College, EGCC, then filed suit in defense, stating that the Department of Education violated the college's right to due process. Now, there is a lot going on in this story, folks. The recent news about the education debt issue is what got the story in, and this is a local topic that a lot of people who are suffering with college debt don't take time to know what's going on. But this article is a must-read for education activists and concludes by stating that no one could be reached to discuss recent developments. That's why this story made it to the top this week, because everybody has a voice in this new world we live in. So this is a big headline. That's why I made it to the top. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that I made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories, folks. So if you don't understand what that story means, check it out, because there's a lot happening in the college arena, folks. I'll be right back here in the Mediator with me, Brian West.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well. That's www.method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. Folks, I've been doing this program probably for about a long time. I started out doing this program on the radio, and I came across a story. They have this new videos. I guess one of the a famous singer worth quite a bit of money has got Grammys, and she got up and she sang a different version of the Star Spangled Banner. I mean, so this week I can't help but wonder: is America really that bad of a nation? You know, and I'm like confused. You know, I feel I had the courage, and I thought that I was doing the right thing by serving the country. I mean, I was raised in a terrible situation. We were raised in a terrible community, and it was a lot of crime, gang violence, and this was brothers killing brothers, you know. And so I tend to, when I see these things happening on TV, as a business owner, these are subliminal messages that I just don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I have people come into the business all the time and they want to talk about issues like this. And I've been doing this show, probably been on the radio sometime, and I've probably had to spend my own money on a lot of things that I've had to do for the community. And I really don't know what to say. To me, I think it's a great place where you have the freedom to get up and say what you want to say, do what you want to do. You know, you got the freedom to change the national anthem if you want to. You got the freedom to get rejected by beautiful girls at the gym who are half naked all around you. Don't look at me, boy. If you can't afford this puss, don't come trying to smell it. Whew. So it makes me wonder, you know, is this really that bad of a country? You know, I know it's rooted and had some bad slavery problems, but you know, just like everything, people got over. You see interracial couples all the time. People from other countries coming here. And being a faithful servant and a proud representative of somebody who swore on oath to protect the Constitution, I know it does have problems. So I really don't know what to say about, you know, the things that I see, all these subliminal messages. But it is hard to soak in, you know. I go around my white colleagues or a place that has majority white people, and they're looking at me. I don't know what to say. You know, seems like a good place to me. I've never been paid what I'm worth, but I've worked for every dime I've got. If you got $1 million in the bank, you could just get up the next morning and still have something to complain about. You got money, you got assets, houses, people working for you, and oh, it's a terrible day. Oh, I guess I'll just go down and get a massage. I mean, these are the benefits that we have. So the question we're asking this week, is America really that bad? Ooh. God bless America, land that I love, stand beside her and guide her, is the question. Is America really that bad? Is there still truth left untold? Are there still hidden truths that the world is trying to wake us up about? Another mystery in mediation. Let's waste no time, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 1. The estate story. Famous singer Aretha Franklin's net worth was $80 million. Famous singer. And the late singer had no will when she died of pancreatic cancer at the age of 76. The singer's family has been in a dispute about the separation of her estate for some time now. But a handwritten note was the final verdict of who will be the beneficiaries in this estate battle. Leading to another question. You know, you get to, you know, you're a good singer, you get royalties. Now, the simple fact that a lot of people living in the United States do not possess a living will is what got this story in. Story number 2. Who do you blame, the government or the citizen? Speaking of America, an Iranian rapper jailed over anti-government protests. The consistent and constant news in circulation about the lack of civil understanding in America. Why many choose to protest is at the heart of this story, folks. Some say it's because of basic freedoms that are dismantled, that are being dismantled. And some say it's because some things just need to be changed. What needs to be changed? Now, whatever the case may be, there is a lot of division, and that's all this division still holds steady, and there's been a lot of damage that's been done, folks. You just had a Grammy Award-winning singer change the Star-Spangled Banner. That's big news. Now, in the end, while standing in the middle, the question of who to blame is what's at stake in the story. Do you blame the citizens? Do you blame the government, who has tried so hard? I'm a product of that, to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. So do you blame the government, who has the majority of the power? With the police, when they talk about brutality and the police trying to maintain law and order when people are breaking the law? Or do you blame the citizen who is trying to get his or her slice of the pie? Folks, we the people of the United States of America, in order to form a more perfect union. This story, folks, is still developing. Big B. Story number 3. The gun story is getting interesting. Here's why. According to a Fox News report, Indianapolis City Council has voted in favor of banning assault rifles. The story goes on to add to a long list of questions of if gun suppression will actually make the country safer. Now, after a 4th of July weekend riddled with gun stories and an entire 23-year-old, an entire 23 years of living in a gun debate, a lot of people don't see this as a legitimate solution to the gun problems, meaning gun suppression. Now, what has this story trending is a simple question of how do you stop someone from wanting to kill or seek revenge with a gun? The story is still developing. That's why story number 3 made it this week. Story number 4. What is the defund the police movement and what is it about? Folks, how do you attack those who are appointed to serve and protect? Folks, this story has actually been on the radar for quite some time, a long time. The important issue keeping this story in the headlines is how police enforcement how they enforce law and order. Now, there's nothing wrong with upholding the law, but how it's being done is what has people caught up in this story. And it's still, the people who are caught up in this story, they're still on the front lines. That means there's been a lot of people lost, black and white, activists from all over, prison, innocent. I mean, it's bad. Now, the brutality stories stem from a long list, but the most recent involves the death penalty before many suspects are even brought to justice. So that means that they're shot before they're even brought to justice. That means they're shot in line of being chased or caught up in a police situation. But now that's before the suspect is even, like I said, brought to justice. I have to repeat that. Now, this is because after a paralyzed California Army veteran, he won a $20 million settlement in a police brutality case that caused him to be paralyzed. Policing stories are remaining in the headlines. In Chicago, America's third largest city, an opinion piece in a Fox News report goes in detail highlighting how odd this story is. It's very odd, because you don't know who's the good guy, you don't know who's the bad guy, but it is a very odd story. In a year filled with violence, many are calling for more police, while a small group is asking for defunding the police. Why? Nobody knows. The story is still developing. It's the biggest conspiracy haunting America right now. Well, folks, those are our top 8 international headlines, top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 4. So don't you go anywhere. You're the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method8inc.com. Method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor the program. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it week. You know, folks, everybody always calls me, they say I'm too nice, sweet guy. And I get probably beat up for being kind and a good-hearted person, probably more than anything. And I haven't figured it out. And everybody's on this America stuff. And, I'm starting to get this idea. I know when to be firm. I know when to lay down the law. But there's some things that I just myself can't comprehend. Like, I don't comprehend, like, when somebody owes you money, why they get mad at you. You gotta, well, I gave you some money. I need this money to pay my bills. And everybody's all complaining about how bad things are. You're trying to uplift them, There's little things that kind of make you wonder about this country, and not just the country, but the people. You try not to get into certain situations. You find yourself in the situations that you can't get out of. And it is a great country, but it does wear you down mentally a lot. You'll call somebody up and, hey, I gave you that money, and you're going to pay it back anyway. You may even get sent to collections. Call you up 3 or 4 times a day. And you'll have the money, but somebody else needs it. You know, and everybody else is complaining about America when everybody's, is it just the fact that human beings may just never be satisfied? Could white people never be satisfied? Could black people just never be satisfied? Could Indians just never be satisfied? Or could everybody just be a victim? Folks, these are the chronicles of mediation. They're getting deeper. They're getting deeper. Because as a man and then sitting in the middle with little net worth, I often wonder, you know, I'll call the bank up and I'll say, can I borrow some money? Well, Brian, technically you can't pay it back. So we can't give you any money. So that's the saddest part. That's what the mystery is, folks, is if you don't have the money, how do you get the money? And that's what could be the problem. But that's not it. You've got people robbing people. People giving people drugs, selling people drugs, selling their bodies. Who's making these decisions? Folks, these are mysteries in mediation. And I am too underpaid to try to figure them out. So let's waste no time, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 5. How a wage battle is being elevated by inflation. Another big headline. Folks, the screenwriters' strike is about money. Speaking of money. And the majority of the problems that go on in the labor industry is always about money. People want their money. Amid high inflation and in the midst of a brutal COVID financial recovery, the talk of the town is what it's always about, money. They can't get enough of it. Even after a decent jobs report, money is the talk of the town, folks. Companies are preparing for the worst, and I have to warn you that the deals are plenty, folks, but the laborers and now are few. And folks, now may not be a good time to upset your rich cousin or burn some bridges. Any bridges. I'm telling you the truth. In June, 209,000 jobs were added. And unemployment fell to 3.6%. But this is still cautious employment with cautious people watching the floor and cautious people watching the money. That means that it's not certain. The story is just gaining steam. That's what story number 5 made it this week. Story number 6. Does your house belong to you? If you've been a victim of foreclosure, folks, it's a hard pill to swallow. And you may not be happy with the system and the rules put in place to manage a household. Folks, we're talking about some deep topics this week. But you may say that the house belongs to it. You live in it, but the house belongs to the bank. So this is deep. This is what you hear a lot of people who own property say, this ain't my house, this is the bank house. You may also say that the upkeep is too expensive. I just put a roof on this house. That's $20,000, $30,000. Oh, Lord. Or you may be rich and you still got rich expenses. That's probably why everybody's so miserable, because everybody is never satisfied. One CNN report homes in on 10 rate hikes, catching the attention of market watchers. The article goes on to highlight peaking mortgage rates and high home prices at a 40-year high. With the housing market on a lot of people's minds, this story is yet another story that is still gaining steam. That's why story number 6 almost made to the top 2 this week. Big headline. Story number 7 and the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. Folks, you have to tune in and get informed to know what is going on, folks. There are things happening under the table that you may not know about. People changing the words, causing racial division, racial strife. And you may just be sitting on the couch, sucking your thumb, not knowing where your next paycheck is going to come from. Folks, there is something happening in the market. Story number 7, the dark side of capitalism. Here's another one. More money, more problems. I'm sure you heard that one. I don't know what they want from me. It's like the more money we come about, the more problems we see. B-R-D-P-O-P-P-A. Folks, that's a quote. That may be the case for now. For banks also. If you didn't know, a CNN business report says that banks with at least $100 billion in assets could face higher capital limits. Well, the talk by the Fed now is to pose stricter bank capital requirements because of 3 major bank failures, which will make things even harder. Where there are more rules, there is more resistance, folks. Story number 8, and the top international headline and developing news story that made it this week for you, keep you informed. Folks, that's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm not trying to scam you. I read these stories and I deliver. That's a good deal. Story number 8. We're all inside of a tech bubble. Could we be? Technology is big now. It is so big that almost everyone's data is online. The question now is the tech bubble too big to explode? That means credit card. They're talking about Bitcoin and all this other stuff. Now, just to give you an idea of how big this story is, AI, artificial intelligence, will replace 20 million manufacturing jobs by 2030 and 25% of American jobs highly susceptible to automation, according to blog gitnux.com. This is according to them. Now, a lot of old school thinkers see this as a danger, and some are starting to speak out about it on bigger platforms. We have to wake up to something real, and that's that money ain't lasting forever. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the journalists, the people on the front lines, the people, you deserve all the credit, the news folks, all the media out there. I'm just the mediator, the man in the middle, navigating your stories to keep people informed. If you want to show us some support here at Method 8, it doesn't take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Or you can stop at the store at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio, and buy something there. Well, folks, I'm out of here. I'll be back next week looking through over 200 or more stories just to keep you informed. Thank you for tuning into the Mediator this week with me, Brian West. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.